What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most hilariously frustrating elements of corporate satire, bad management. Specifically, we are breaking down a viral compilation from The Office titled Management Being the Worst. Anyone who has ever worked a corporate job knows that a company is only as functional as its leadership. But in the world of Dunder Mifflin, leadership isn't just dysfunctional. It is a beautifully orchestrated circus of delusion, fraud, and boundary-crossing insanity. Today, we are going to analyze the structural brilliance behind these specific moments, exploring how the writers transformed incompetent corporate bosses into peak television comedy. The compilation kicks off with a massive reality check for the ultimate corporate golden boy, Ryan Howard. We see him getting arrested in front of the entire Scranton branch. This moment is the spectacular culmination of Ryan's rapid ascent to corporate headquarters. When Ryan was promoted, he tried to completely revolutionize Dunder Mifflin with his pet project, Dunder Mifflin Infinity, a highly flawed website. To make the website look like a massive success to the corporate board, Ryan started recording sales twice, once as traditional office sales and once as website sales. Oscar Martinez breaks this down perfectly for the audience, explaining that in the business world, this is called misleading the shareholders. But he immediately clarifies with the real word, fraud. The brilliance of Ryan's downfall is how it contrasts with his massive ego. He went from a humble temp to a pretentious corporate executive, only to be brought down by his own desperate greed. Jim Halpert, in his typical dry fashion, delivers the ultimate punchline by stating that the real crime wasn't the fraud, but Ryan's corporate beard. Immediately after Ryan's arrest, the compilation takes us into what is arguably one of the most famous and unhinged episodes in the show's history, safety training. Michael Scott is facing a massive crisis of ego. After the warehouse crew, led by Daryl, makes fun of the office workers for having a cushy, safe environment, Michael decides to prove that office stress is just as dangerous as heavy machinery. His solution? A highly scripted, incredibly dangerous demonstration of the dangers of depression. Michael climbs onto the roof of the office building, planning to fake a suicide attempt by jumping onto a hidden bouncy castle. The dialogue on that roof is absolute gold. Michael delivers the legendary, incredibly inappropriate line, "Dwight, you ignorant slut," which is a direct, brilliant homage to classic Saturday Night Live sketches. What makes this scene a masterclass in comedy writing is the utter contrast between Michael's desperate need for attention and the staff's exhausted reaction. Michael genuinely believes he is performing a public service, stating that when he jumps, the office will finally see the cold, hard facts of depression. The comedy peaks when the office workers look down and notice the giant, inflatable castle hidden behind a delivery truck. Jim, Pam, and Daryl have to actively de-escalate the situation, not because Michael is actually suicidal, but because he is genuinely dumb enough to jump off a roof onto a bouncy castle and cause himself permanent physical damage. It is a stunning display of Michael's complete lack of boundaries and his terrifying willingness to endanger his own life just to win an argument with the warehouse crew. The compilation then transitions into the bizarre, lawless era of Season 8, introducing us to Nelly Bertram's hostile takeover of the manager position. With Andy Bernard away in Florida trying to win back Aaron, Nelly literally just walks into the empty manager's office, sits in the chair, and declares herself the new boss. When the CEO, Robert California, arrives and notices the situation, his reaction is pure chaotic energy. Instead of firing her for trespassing and insubordination, Robert finds the situation interesting and allows it to play out. Nelly's management style is based entirely on manipulation and cheap psychological tricks. To win over an office that completely despises her, she starts handing out performance reviews and random salary raises based on first impressions. Look at how she handles Dwight Schrute. Dwight openly refuses to respect her, stating that she belongs in jail. Nelly immediately counters by giving him a massive raise, calling him the Atlas who carries the company on his massive shoulders. Dwight's internal conflict is hilarious. He tries to negotiate his own raise downward because he is too proud, claiming he knows his worth. Nelly's immediate acceptance of his lower counteroffer exposes the absolute farce of her authority. Nelly's character monologue sums up the absolute absurdity of her corporate climb. She admits she grew up poor, has no formal education, no real skills, doesn't work hard, and most of her ideas are total crap. Yet she walked right into a management position. As she proudly tells the camera, that is the American dream. It is a biting, deeply cynical satire of how corporate hierarchies often reward confidence over actual competence. Finally, the compilation brings us to the ultimate conclusion of Andy Bernard's tragicomic management run. Andy meets with David Wallace to resign from Dunder Mifflin to pursue his lifelong dream of becoming a famous entertainer. Andy's delusion here is completely unmatched. He genuinely believes that the upcoming broadcast of The Office documentary is going to turn him into a global superstar. He explains to David that he cannot spend his days writing nasty comments about American Idol contestants. He needs to be the guy they are writing nasty comments about. The tragic comedy of Andy's exit is that he completely misreads David Wallace's politeness. David is simply relieved to get rid of an incompetent manager who spent 3 months on a boat, used company money for headshot printers, and asked for corporate-funded cheek implants. When David tells him he has a gift, Andy takes it as a literal compliment, leaving the company with absolute confidence. Ultimately, this compilation works so well because it exposes the terrifying truth about corporate life. The people in charge are often the least qualified to lead. Whether it is Ryan's corporate fraud, Michael's roof stunt, Nelly's chair-stealing tactics, or Andy's Hollywood delusions, The Office reminds us that management is often the worst part of the job. That wraps up our deep dive into the absolute worst bosses of Dunder Mifflin. If you love this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more classic television reviews, and ring that notification bell. Drop a comment below and let me know. Who do you think was the absolute worst manager in the history of the show? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.